Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for joining in. We're going to be tuning in and contemplating, reflecting some of Bruno Groening's teachings. Okay, dokie. A human being acts according to his will. As his will, so his thought. The thought moves the person to deed. Now, the German for move is actually bewegt. My pronunciation's really bad. But it doesn't just mean move. It means like cajole or push or direct. So let's really be clear that our thoughts really move us in a certain direction. Let's spend a little time and tune in. Really engaging our will for the good. Hi, Germana. Again, a human acts according to his will. As his will, so his thought. The thought moves the person to deed. And again, the German for moves is bewegen. And it doesn't just mean to move, it's like push, cajole, inspire, direct. So our thoughts really direct our actions. Of course, our actions create our lives. Bruno Groening said the thoughts we take in determine our destiny. So let's really engage our will so that we receive more good thoughts, and let's also invoke our discernment and our vigilance to only take in true, helpful, good thoughts. Bruno Groening once said, I'm going from memory here, so I'm going to paraphrase, that a good will opens the mirror of the soul so that it can receive the healing stream. So really, this whole path is based on this thing called will. Whether Bruno sometimes would call it goodwill, will for the good, wanting the good. It starts there. And as he says here, will determines what kind of thoughts we have, and then our thoughts determine what kind of actions we have. And of course, the actions, not actions we have, actions we do. And of course, that's what determines our life, what we do. But it all begins with will, wanting the good, willing the good. The German word for will, willen, it also means intention. I believe it means intention on a very deep level. So please keep tuning in. There's actually another book I want to get so that I have a quote. Be back in 1 minute. How important are the thoughts we take in? Here's what Bruno Groening said. It is through oneself that a human is either built up or destroyed. In the armory of his thoughts, he is forging the weapons which add to his own downfall. In the very same way, he's creating the tools to build heavenly homes of joy, power, and peace for himself. That's how important. That's how important our thoughts are. They'll either destroy us or create a heavenly experience for us. Bruno said everyone is the architect of their own future. And here he's told us very specifically what's the main tool through which we build our future. If they're negative thoughts, they're weapons that cut us down. If they're true good thoughts, they're tools through which we can build. So there we have the thought action connection. But then Bruno speaks about what precedes thoughts. In German, it's Willen, which means intention or will. And he speaks about that in many different ways. I'm going to find a couple of my favorites. This is from Wisdom of Life, page 219. It's one of my all-time favorite Bruno quotes. The soul can be compared to a wonderful, beautiful flower about the size of my open palm. When a person wants what is good, their soul then opens just like a satellite dish, and the divine energy streams into it fully. So that's how it starts. We just want what's good. And then our soul opens and we receive the energy. So what closes the soul and cuts off the energy? Bruno says, but if a person takes up just a single bad thought, then their soul shuts itself up at once and the connection to God is interrupted. The soul is therefore the receiving device for the healing stream. A good will. I've also seen him express it, the will for the good, or wanting what is good. A good will opens the mirror of the soul and the power can flow. So let's really want the good. Let's really, and if anyone has their own understanding of what Bruno meant by goodwill or will for the good or wanting the good, please do type it in. Now let's practice it some. Will is such a strong word. We normally think of it as something intense, like the will to live or the will to succeed. And that captures that there's passion and fierceness there. And that's part of what's needed for this path. Bruno Groening put it like this. This is from Powers of the Spirit, page 14. This was Bruno speaking to Freddie Hosp's mother. Mrs. Hosp, you must take up the divine power more consciously, and you must yearn for it in the same way as people have a desire for their beloved partners. You certainly know how that is when a husband and wife stand facing one another. The husband then feels a strong longing for his wife in his body. And on the other side, the wife desires her husband. These are the most powerful feelings in human life, and they are, in essence, the driving force for new life. If, therefore, anyone would like to attain the connection to God, they must yearn for it with a spiritual longing that is just as unconditional. I'd be curious about the German word for unconditional, but unconditional is that for their beloved person. We have to, according to Bruno Groening, yearn for God and want God with that level of intensity, and want the good, and want order, and want harmony in our bodies and lives. With an analogous level of desire as sexual desire, as sexual longing. So let's really want the good. Tuning in, Einstein has an active component to it. Bruno said, I send the energy, you have to take it in. So yes, we're receiving, and we have an active part in the process. One of my favorite quotes from the sages of India is very similar to this. The quote is this: "You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny." Bruno Groening often spoke about heart wish, and people have different interpretations of that, what that means and what he meant by it. Sometimes he would speak of, let's see, what do I want to say? And the question is, what's our deepest heart wish? What's our deepest desire? Because according to Bruno Groening, and according to this wisdom from India, that our deepest desire, our deepest heart wish is what drives us. I heard it said very well. One person who has a lot of experience, in this path, he said, if you only got one heart wish, what would it be? And they said, and the one heart wish can't be for 10 more heart wishes. Like one desire, one prayer, what would it be? It's an amazing meditation. And so to take us back where we started from, a human being acts according to his will. As his will, so his thought. The thought moves the person to deed. And I'm starting to study German, and it's helping a lot. And so again, the German word is Willen for will, which also means intention. And move, it's not just move, it's bewegen, which means to push, direct, to move in the sense of, it can be like, oh, I just moved that book, right? But there's another way of like, oh, this book was moved by me. I believe that's what Bruno Groening's trying to communicate, is that our thoughts actually move us. And so I've been looking at will, thought, and deed. And here's what Bruno Groening says to do with negative thoughts. Be wary of every thought. Refuse it. If you like, say to yourself, I want nothing to do with this bad thought. I want to have a good thought now. Then distract yourself. Look out the window, for example. Look into direction where the good, the real divine is showing you. So he gives really specific instructions what to do when we become aware of negative thoughts. Now, becoming aware of a negative thought doesn't shut off the soul. What Bruno said is when you take up a negative thought, when you say yes to it, that's when we get in trouble. Because we've all had the experience, or I've had the experience, and I assume others have, of like becoming aware of a negative thought and it doesn't stick. And then also having the experience of becoming aware of a negative thought and somehow how I said yes to it and it like grabs hold of me and like, like shakes me around. Because Bruno Groening said, if you take up one negative thought, then you become a servant of the devil, of Satan. It's a little hardcore. He also said to be, let's see if I can find it. Consider every word and every sentence that you speak and every thought that you take in, whether it is worthy to be taken up. So that's what Bruno Groening is calling us to. is to really reflect on our thought, word, and deed, and to really catch those negative thoughts and say no to them. Again, here's his instructions. Be wary of every evil thought. Refuse it if you like. Say to yourself, I want nothing to do with this thought. I want to have a good thought now. So we really need to get firm with our thinking. And this is where the nighttime review comes in. Bruno Groening advised people at the end of the day to review their entire day. And then through the day, you can notice when things weren't going well, it was like, what was the thought that I said yes to? I'm just trying to think. As I was doing my review last night, I was reviewing the day and I noticed at a certain point, I started to feel not well. This is again in review. And I was able to identify the specific thought. And now, having done that, I can be more mindful for that thought in the future. Actually, the thought was really simple. As I was feeling tired yesterday, and I took up the thought, I don't like being tired. Being tired sucks. And so what did I do? So once I took up those thoughts, then I went to distract myself on the internet. Because it's like, oh, I don't want to feel tired. And luckily, I caught that only about 5-6 minutes. And I was like, yuck. This isn't how I want to take care of myself. This isn't how I want to live. What do I want to do? So I tuned in and it was like, go to the beach. So I went to the beach. And of course, that recharged me. And here we have a prime example of what Bruno Groening meant when he said the thought moves the person to deed. I took up these thoughts about, oh, how awful it is that I feel tired. And I don't want to feel tired. So I saying yes to those negative thoughts, then I started to do something negative, numb out, to literally dissociate from feeling tired. In hindsight, I would have said, no, I give those thoughts away, ask for a good thought. It'd be like, okay, right now I'm feeling tired. God, what should I do? What's your will for me? Or it might just be simple like, okay, I'm feeling tired. That's okay. It's not a big deal. What's next? That might be an example of a positive thought to take in. All right, dear ones, thank you so much for joining in. We'll be doing this again soon. And I wish you a day of having intention, desire, longing for the good, and then vigilance for thoughts, And from those two things, may you be moved to harmonious, joyful actions. And hence, as Bruno Groening said, build heavenly homes of joy, power, and peace for yourself. Take care. So much love.